Hi Aries, welcome to your July 2024 horoscope. Before we get into it, one sort of disclaimer. I am not going to highlight all of the aspects that are happening in July during this 10-minute horoscope. There are really a lot of things happening in July. There's a lot of trines and sextiles, especially with like Saturn, Uranus, Neptune. If we are to sit here and consider all of them, we're going to be here for way too long. But I did want to sort of assure you that I have taken the most important ones, the ones that are the most prevalent, the most intense, and we're definitely going to cover those in this horoscope. So let's begin with Neptune going retrograde, which is happening on July 2nd. Neptune will stay retrograde until December of this year. For you Aries, Neptune has been in your 12th house for the last a while, since 2011 actually. So in your 12th house, it has really been helping you connect with spirituality and with compassion. It's helping you realize which sort of dreams and ideals you had of spirituality are real. How can you help make them real, help bring them into your day-to-day life? And which ones were a bit idealistic, a bit unrealistic, and it was best to get rid of them. Now that Neptune is retrograde, you will most likely be reflecting on all of those themes, on the actions that you've taken since 2011. And take note, if you want to change course, it will be possible once Neptune goes direct in December to do that. On July 6th, we have a new moon in Cancer in your 4th house. A new moon represents a new beginning, and for you, it has to do with your family and with your home. There might be something wonderful that you're starting, maybe a new routine that allows you to connect with your family. Maybe you're moving home, maybe you're starting a new renovation in your home, but overall it should feel a nice time to direct your energy towards that area of your life. A couple of days later, on July 10th, we have two interesting aspects happening. We have the Sun trining Saturn, and we have Venus trining Neptune. And these transits or aspects are highlighting your 12th and 4th house. So this wonderful new routine that you started with your family, the new renovation you might have started, the new home that you might have moved into, are making it easier for you to get in touch with your internal world, to get in touch with your spirituality, to get in touch with your inner beliefs. It's just a crazy example of how this could manifest is you move to a new home, which is much quieter, you're not surrounded by neighbors, and as a result, because of this peace and quiet, you finally have time to dive into meditation, and your meditations are amazing and deep and really profound as a result. So that's just one example of how this could manifest. The day after, on July 11th, Venus enters the sign of Leo and opposes Pluto, which is in Aquarius. The opposition does represent tension or feeling like you're being pulled in two different directions. And for you, Aries, this is the pull between your 5th and 11th house. The pull between wanting to enjoy life and have a good time versus wanting to be organized, planning for the future, working on your goals. And this will be a theme that will come up again, especially later in the month when the Sun opposes Pluto as well. On July 14th, we have another one of I want to say the biggest events of July, although it's hard to compare them all with each other, but one that will probably feel intense. This is a conjunction between Mars and Uranus, which for you, Aries, will happen in your 2nd house. Mars conjunct Uranus, for all of us, will manifest as displaying courage, standing up for ourselves, our own individuality, our own unique way of being and doing things. And especially for you, Aries, because it's happening in your second house, it might have to do with standing up in terms of your finances, standing up in terms of your self-worth and self-confidence. A couple of days later, on the 20th of July, Mars will enter Gemini, or your third house. Mars entering Gemini is going to have a bit of scattered energy, a bit of the energy that we're all doing 1,000 things and not doing any one of them very well. This idea of spreading ourselves too thin. And especially for you, because it's entering your third house, you might especially notice this manifesting in a lot of communication, a lot of talk. Perhaps your thoughts are quite scattered and it's difficult for you to relate to others exactly what it is you're trying to express. But it could also be stretching yourself too thin with sort of the obligations and responsibilities with your neighbors and with your siblings as well. On July 21st, we have a full moon in Capricorn. And this full moon does have quite a strong Plutonian influence. This is because the moon is at 29 degrees of Capricorn and Pluto is at 1 degree of Aquarius. So they are definitely very close with each other. We also have Mars trining Pluto during this full moon, again emphasizing this Plutonian influence. A full moon does represent something being brought to light because the sun is shining its light on the moon, revealing it from its darkness. And what I've been sort of sharing with all the other zodiac signs as well is that this sort of revelation will have to do with the Pluto in Capricorn transit that we've all been experiencing the last 20 years. And there's two reasons why I think this. First of all, the moon is in the sign of Capricorn. It's at 29 degrees of Capricorn. And second of all, Pluto is going retrograde. It's working its way towards that 29th degree. And it will actually later in the year enter back into Capricorn and be at that 29th degree. So I do think that this full moon is a sort of like preparation for that entrance for Pluto back into Capricorn. And I do think before we're about to enter back into that, that house, before Pluto is going to enter into that house, that we do need to sort of be aware of what we might have overlooked, what we might have missed. I do not think, even though Pluto is involved, we're talking about intensity, I do not think that the revelation will be very intense or very dramatic. And the reason I say this is because we also have Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune involved in the full moon. Because those three planets are also involved with Pluto, I do get to see this as a more like positive, powerful influence on our lives. It could even be a sort of the final puzzle piece that makes us see the full picture of the transit, or the sort of the missing information that makes us understand. It makes it all make sense. It makes us understand why we had to go through it. It makes us understand how it has actually benefited us and made us into the person we need to be today. And for you, Aries, Pluto is in your 10th house for the last 20 years. So this has to do with your career. And you might have a sort of a revelation or awareness regarding the power and leadership that you have been learning to express when it comes to your career. The day after the full moon, the sun finally enters Leo. And as it does that, it opposes Pluto. So I do feel like, because this opposition between the sun and Pluto will be exact just the day after, I do think that the full moon effect will feel a little bit more like drawn out. It might feel like it doesn't sort of crescendo and stop on the 21st, but maybe sort of has two crescendos, 21st and 22nd, or the crescendo comes a little bit later with July 22nd and the Sun-Pluto opposition. But overall, for this Sun-Pluto opposition, I do think it's good to reflect as to what happened earlier in the month when Venus was opposing Pluto, because it's possible that the same themes will come back up again. And the final transit or aspect that I want to chat about in this horoscope, Aries, is the sextile between the Sun and Mars. Mars is in your 3rd house and the Sun is in your 5th house. Mars has been in your 3rd house for the last 5 days at this point. So you have probably been putting in some effort and some attention towards your relationships with your neighbors and your siblings. Perhaps you've been putting effort and attention on the way you communicate. And as a result, this is somehow making it easier for you to get more in touch with your playful side, to have more fun, enjoy your hobbies. It's this idea that you've been hanging out with your neighbors a little bit more, and what you've been doing together is lots of board games and puzzles. Or because you've been working on your communication and experimenting with different ways that you could share with others what's on your mind, perhaps all of a sudden you've realized, hey, what if I can share with others what I'm feeling, not just with my words, but maybe with a song, maybe with a painting, for example. Those sort of methods of self-expression are also represented by the 5th house. So overall, Aries, I hope you are looking forward to July. There's quite a lot of focus on your neighbors, on your self-esteem, and we have some focus on your career as well. So I hope you are looking forward to all of those different wonderful things that will keep you busy this month. I do want to remind you, Aries, in case you missed it, that I am doing a giveaway. I am giving a free reading when we reach 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to make sure that you qualify for that free reading, then make sure you subscribe. Thank you for joining me, Aries, and I hope to see you in August. Enjoy July.